Oh, hello there, and welcome back to the nighttime of Mars. On my way back from a very successful mining trip, as you can see, I am overloaded with ore and coal. And the idea behind that is we are going to make ourselves some more steel. Now, this furnace is way too cold. We're going to jump straight into it today. I don't even think we're going to wait. However, let me show you guys a little trick. So when you add materials to a furnace, you will cool it down because they are cold, and you will also increase its pressure. So you are lowering temperature and increasing pressure, neither of which are things we want to do for steel. However, as long as there is gas in the furnace, it will process it. And I will show you a little trick about how it's a bit of an exploit, to be honest. But if we add all of our goods in now, as you can see, they will be processed, and then they'll just stay in there as iron. But it doesn't say processing iron, which means that the very short window we actually have to make steel once we get this furnace going, we bypass completely, because we've already put everything we need to make the steel in beforehand, and it just instantly is steel. You'll see what I mean in a second. So our first batch is going to be our 3 iron, 1 hydrocarbon. Bada-boom. In this case being coal. I don't know why they don't just call it hydrocarbon instead of coal, right? Because like people's main gripe with this game is the fact that it says coal, but here we are. Anyway, we're going to just put the hydrocarbon in, okay, and then the remaining iron, we need 2 more bats. There we go, so it'll be 300 iron to 100 hydrocarbon. Definitely not coal, definitely hydrocarbon. And it will produce steel. Well, it won't produce steel now, again, for the same reasons as described before. It's just too cold. Okay, so everything's processed and waiting. No steel. What we do is we set this outward, turn it on, and as you will see, everything's going to get pumped out of here now. You see the pressure in there is plummeting. It's going from 12 megapascals down now to 11, and it'll keep going down until it gets to like 10. We want to sort of pump it out till about, I don't know, 3 or 4 megapascals. Like really just vent that bad boy out. This thing is it's definitely got its work cut out for it. While we're waiting for that to happen though, we can recap what we did yesterday. We put together our airlock. It is now completely functional. You can cycle in and out to atmosphere and back, which I think is pretty cool. And we actually have a battery set up and insulated from the cold inside our lovely warm base. Oh man, it is still so chock full. I've started printing out solar panels. We're going to need a lot more copper and gold, like hundreds of both, in order to actually do that. So we're sort of edging towards it. And there we go. We're getting down in pressure. It's working. It's working slowly. But once we're sort of, you know, I'll probably cut through most of the mining and the printing for all the stuff we need, but I will do all the building on camera. The printing's kind of just waiting, right? Like there's nothing particularly exciting about it. Did we get there? There we go. So, like, I mean, I've been watching Stationeers content on YouTube for a long time, and one big problem I have with it is that it can get really boring. Like, unless the person you're watching has rehearsed their start so many times, like Radaman did, and like I tried to do here, it can be really boring because they're kind of just going like, we need, furnace, what's going on there? Okay, I pulled out my jetpack. Clearly, flawless rehearsal here, people, flawless. But yes, or you know, in my case, their audio quality is terrible, much like mine. God, I just can't seem to get it right. It used to be so good, and now it's so bad. Anyway, let's get our 6 volatiles in there, which is my, you know, preferred mixture. And 1, 2, 3 oxides. And yeah, so I just wanted to create Stationeers content that I wanted to see. You know, there we go. There's our ingot of steel. Yoink. Oh, no. There you go. Don't you dare lose that. 400 grams of steel. I would weep. I would weep tears. Let's finally smelt up the silicon. I think it'll be hot enough now, yeah, to actually do it. Nice. And then we also want to smelt up this block of iron. There we go. But yeah, now that we have the ability to just pump out the furnace and put it back, you know, we're fine. So as you can see, our goal for today still says set up airlock. That is no longer correct. Our goal for today is now going to be set up solar. Okay, that's going to be like the meta goal for this episode. Now, unfortunately, in order to set up solar, we're going to have to do a few other things. I've got the ingredients here to make solder, right? Which is lead, 1 iron. We're going to need solder for a lot of things, but we don't need it right now. Now, the problem is that this is going to be just simply too hot. to actually, you know, produce solder. It's like, what's that? 900 and it's like 500 degrees. It has to be like 550 Kelvin before it will switch over to actually being solder in here. So what I'm actually going to do is just let this passively cool down. Solder basically has no pressure limit, so it can be as high pressure as we like. I'm just going to let that slowly cool down. We could I guess pump out a bit of air. That will reduce the temperature, but you know what? We might as well honestly just let it like react with the atmosphere. It's pretty much the same. Okay, cool. I'm going to do a little power top up. Just turn that on for a second until that thing goes blue. Come on, come on, come on. Give me blue battery. Give me blue battery. Oh, really? Is that going to use up all that coal? It actually might, you know. Okay, but there's the sun. We're going to be using this time. There we go. Blue battery. Turn that off. How much is left in there? 4. Excellent. We're going to use the daylight here to go out and do some mining. Ah, the natural sounds of the Martian wildlife. So pleasant and soothing, really, you know? What what gorgeous bird song we are benefited to hear. Anyway, we're going to quickly run inside before we dehydrate to death. Do we have solder yet? Oh, not yet. 30 degrees Kelvin left to go, and that will be solder, and then we'll be able to smelt up all of this gold and copper that I found. Now, we've been doing good, boys. We are going to have to vent a bit more oxygen into the base, though, as I can already tell you that the pressure is going to be too low to sort of safely work with here. Come on, come on. Any second now. There we go. Gimme water. Yes, but first gimme oxygen. Let's just vent a bunch out here. It's 14 kilopascals. That's too low. We'll die if we use that. So let's get ready to give me a full one. There we go. Let's open helmet. Start chugging. And then we can other way, decrease. There we go. Okay. Whew. Getting dire, people. Yeah, we got 2 on 30% and 1 on 45 in our inventory. We will. The next thing we do after power will be water. Don't you worry. We've still got a bit of time. Okay, cool. So we're all satiated. Let's close that. We can actually now set up our filters. Let's do that. Oh, this is the wrong machine. Give me back my goods. I need that iron specifically. Of course, it's the last one to come out. It would be. You give me filter. I want filter for pollutants. And I also want to change my suit battery because it's low. There we go. Filter for pollutants, and you give me filter for volatiles. Because those are the two things in this room that I kind of want to remove. We introduced the volatiles when we welded, and we introduced the pollutants just from the atmosphere of Mars. So using these two and the power of Grayskull, we shall be able to filter our air. So holding the portable scrubber, you just right click and it sort of lets it work. Okay, hold on, maybe don't put it on its side. There we go. It needs a battery, which we grab from there. Stick one in, turn it on. And we don't want to turn it on just yet because you'll see it will just pull the whole room in. Not exactly ideal. So we're going to want to pop that bad boy open, vent it out. That should vent the room. Yes, there we go, it's venting. Okay. So if you turn this thing on without atmosphere, it will just pull in everything you've got in the room. Not ideal. Not ideal. You really need these filters in there before you do anything. This one and this one. Okay, so we've opened up the internal pressure. It's going to equalize with the room at 29 kPa, so it will unfortunately still hold on to some of our oxygen and our carbon dioxide. That's not the end of the world. It's really okay. Oh, it's actually vented itself completely. I didn't expect it to do that. Oh, no. God damn it. No. Okay, do it one more time. Okay, turning it off first this time. We close the hatch, and we pop in the filters at the back here. So now when we turn it on, you'll note it only pulls in volatiles and pollutants. Okay, cool. So this thing will just kind of run. Let's just give it another battery. It'll just run itself now. However, there is one problem, which is that, as you can see, these filters do actually get consumed. They're still at 100%, but they will eventually wear down to 0, and then this thing will stop functioning. So until then, is that all of it? Okay, cool. The whole room's been scrubbed, so we should actually be able to now... there's still a bit of X in here. And now it's gone. Yeah. It's done per cube, so you can see the X number dropping there, like crazy. But yes, so we won't have to flush our helmet anymore after using it, as long as we keep doing that. One thing I do want to do is drop my waste tank. And I want to vent it to this room, because this is going to be primarily CO2. So there we go. We want to put all the carbon dioxide in this room so that when we eventually have plants, they can convert it to oxygen. So what is the makeup of this room right now? Let's have a look. It should be primarily oxygen. Yeah, 91% with 9 moles of CO2. 9 moles of CO2 is perfectly fine by me. And of course, check this out. If I turn on my jetpack, you'll see the amount of nitrogen increasing. It's because that's what's in my jetpack. It does actually off gas into the room you're in. So be very careful of that. If you put a whole bunch of noxious crap in your jetpack and you use it in your base, you will put that atmosphere into your base. Kinda duh, I guess. Let's put away these solar panels for now. Head outside and do some smelting. Oh, let me back through. That was a near miss, and you got squished there. Just want to offload all of this. Okay, let it run its thing. Before we do anything though, let's run the generator again. Make sure we top up this battery. We will very soon be coal independent once we have solar set up. But in order to get solar set up, we need all of this stuff. How are we doing? Here we go. Ingot of solder. Fantastic. We can put that away. Close this up, and I have a feeling that this is going to be too cold to do the copper. Yeah, it is. Okay, but we can still do the same trick. We can just load it up and then put it all together. So we have solder. Look at that. It's a nice little round bar. You put it over here and you can see it. That's what it looks like. A rolling pin of death. Okay, things have heated up. There we go. This furnace is so much faster, isn't it, man? Once you get the hang of it, it really is just infinitely better than using that stupid arc furnace. This thing is great in emergencies, but really, man, this thing just does everything better. It is, of course, very difficult on certain planets, like Vulcan or Venus, because it's too hot for there to be ices that you can use, so you kind of have to, do, a whole bunch of gas mixing. But on Mars, and the Moon, and Mimas, and all those sort of places in Europa, it is very easy to do smelting, which is cool. Part of the challenge of those hotter planets is that sort of, this sort of thing, like getting the temperature cold. For example, on Vulcan, you can't get your furnace cold enough to make solder if it's outside. It has to be, because I think you have to, unless you do it at night, maybe you might be able to get it down there. But yeah, it's a bit more of a challenge. Okay, cool. So let's go throw these additional resources in our printers and see what we can do about getting ourselves closer to solar panels. Okay, so while this thing prints us up some more solar panels, I think I'm going to want a total of 6. We currently have 2, so we want 4 more. I'm going to get this thing making me some steel frames and sheets. These are less... These look different to iron frames, and they have a much higher structural strength. Not that that really matters, to be honest. Unless you're on, Venus or Vulcan, you don't actually have to worry about that. It's, Mars, the pressure is so low. Doesn't matter. You can technically, you could make a better bomb with, with the steel frames, but we're not worried about that. You know, this is a monetizable channel, for sure. Instead, we're going to do our best to kind of just, I don't know, we use the steel because it's more efficient. So to produce an iron frame costs 4 grams of iron, whereas to produce a steel frame costs 2 grams of steel, which, if you remember the ratio, is actually technically 1.5 grams of iron and 0.5 grams of coal. So you use less iron to do the same amount of work, and they're otherwise functionally identical. Also, I think the steel frames have other shapes they can be in, but I never use them because they can't be made airtight. So it's a bit pointless if you ask me. Okay, we're going to leave this thing printing up some heavy cable coils while we head out and start setting up our solar. Finally, I am going to do a quick top up on the water there. Since we're here, we might as well just do it. I know we're already at 60%. Oy. Yeah, I think the next job really is going to be... hold on, wait. Helmet is closed. There we go. Okay, now next job is definitely going to be getting that sorted. Water. Okay, let's cycle through. Might as well swap batteries. I like having this one in the airlock. It's easy to quickly swap batteries, especially when you're outdoors. You don't have to come inside to get a new battery. We could, I suppose, put a battery charger on the outside with a rack of fresh ones, but at night they will discharge, which is, you know, we are still fighting a little bit of efficiency at this point. Let's stick this frame here. So the iron frames will make the tower, and then I think we'll use the steel frames as the base for all of our future work. Now, obviously, the higher we make this, the more cables we need to supply power to and from it. But you know what? It's fine. Okay, so importantly, we want our solar panels to face east. Oh, first things first, I need to weld this up. So let's do that. I think I have just enough steel sheets to... Oh, don't weld while you're inside them. It's a quick way to die. There we go. Voila, just like that. Okay, next up, we want to, hold on, let's just close up some of these inventories. It's a bit chaotic, as always. And now so we're going to want to give ourselves a bit of space to put our logic. So I'm going to give myself, 2 frames should be enough, so we'll put it over here. So we want power, we want the data port facing east, sunrise, which is that direction. Cool. This should work. More of these, and we have a bit more space for one more if we get the chance. Okay, let's put the glass in them. Nice, and now we can start worrying about the logic setup. Also, let's go get those power cables. This is going to be a whole ordeal. Oh wow, we got a bit of a cable party going on in here. Let's just grab all of that. There we go. Alright, we're definitely going to need more than that, but for now we will pause it so that we can get some of the logic chips printed up. Because, first things first, let's get an area power controller made. Because that's why I made the solder. As you can see, we need 3 grams of it to make one of these. Because I would like the solar power logic to be on its own network. It just streamlines things a lot. And let's make it its own large battery as well. Unfortunately, this will be exposed to atmosphere, so this one will passively drain. It is just going to kind of be a constant drain on our resources. But that's okay, once we have the solar, it should more than make up for any inefficiencies there. Okay, so now, in order to put this together, well, we won't need those glass, but we will need some logic. Okay, so we're going to need 2 memories, 4 IOs, and 2 maths units. And with those printed, we also need a sensor, so we can tell where the sun is going to be. This is going to give us a lot of our data. Alright, I think that's all we need for right now, to at least get this set up. We are going to need a hell of a lot more cable. In fact, I should have let it continue printing, that's on me. But it's fine, it's fine. What we can do so long, we might as well, before we even set up the logic, we can wire up the power. So at least, you know, even, because they are producing a little bit of juice right now. But you know what, it's fine, it's fine. Let's get this set up first. So, this is going to be our daylight sensor, and we want to make sure that it faces north, the data port on it, anyway. So it needs to face upwards. You can't put it on the side. It needs to face upwards, and it needs to face north, which again is like 360 or 0, whatever you want to call it. Alright, cool. So with that down, we can then begin to plan the rest of it. This will need a power supply, and I strongly suggest that you feed power. So it's a kind of goofy, right? You're going to run power out the output end, which is going to connect to your batteries, and then you should run a regular cable all the way back up to feed power from those batteries over here. You can, of course, just link it directly to the solar, but that means that if it dies overnight, these will stop working. I would strongly suggest you connect it to an actual, like, power network. Okay, so we'll stick that over there for now. I'm sure we can do this more efficiently, but I don't care. We're going to need to put down all of our logic first and foremost. Okay, so let's do a bit of an explanation here. And I'm actually going to... First things first, I'm going to get before I explain what we're doing, we're going to get the cables run so that I can explain this all in one go without having to sort of move back and forth. I think that's a good idea. So let's get all of this. The data side will only ever need to be these small cables. You don't need the heavy ones for this, so please don't worry about that. Well, you know what? Let's maybe we should just set up one so that we can see if this actually works. Because just in case I put this on the wrong side, I want to make sure I get this right the first time. Okay, so a very quick explanation of how logic works in Stationeers before we get into this. We are going to lose the light, unfortunately, and we are going to be burning through a lot of jetpack fuel doing this, but it is what it is, right? So first things first, we have 3 kinds of memory that we're working with, or 3 kinds of processor. We have the logic sets, we have the mathematics sets, and we have the memory sets. Memory just stores a number that you can do computations on. You can write to memory and you can read from memory, but you can't do them in the same action. It's one or the other. A logic I/O chip, which is this one here, can either read information from an item or write information to an item, right? And that, you know, the item it reads from could be a sensor and the item it writes to could be a solar panel, for all we know. Then finally, you have the logic mathematics, and these have various different features. You can do like a minimum or maximum, and then it's like a toggle. You could do a select. I don't actually know how those ones work. I've never used them. You can do a comparative analysis, and then you can output a 1 or a 0 depending on the result. You can do just simple math, which is what we're going to be doing, which is where you can subtract, add, divide, do whatever you need to, right? Okay, cool. I'm actually going to wait for the daytime to do this. Alright, the sun is up, and overnight I put together this little platform and wired up all of the solar panels. So basically all the data ports are connected, and all the power ports are now run all the way down to our base, and there is a secondary power cable running all the way up, which has actually now gone ahead and charged up this battery for us. Basically that means that power gets stored in the battery, and then that battery powers the solar logic. It's surprisingly power hungry. Also put together this little platform to spare our backpack a little bit. What we're going to need is we're going to need to read the information, both vertical and horizontal, from that daylight sensor. So in order to do that, we throw down a logic reader, one over here, and we'll put one over here. This will be our vertical one, this will be our horizontal one. We then need to write the information we either find or create to the solar panels, and for that we use a batch writer. A simple logic writer will write to one output. A batch writer will write to all outputs of the same kind, which is exactly why I wanted to put this on its own network, so these solar panels are isolated from any others we ever decide to use. Then we're going to need to do a bit of maths to get the vertical orientation correct. And in order to do that, we want the logic math unit, this one right here. We'll put one there, and we'll stick one there. Sure, why not? And then lastly, we're going to need some memory. These are going to store the variables that we'll use to do maths with. The labeler is going to be very helpful here. So let's start with our memory, and I'll explain everything as we go along. For now, you can kind of just like copy me. So let's put mem75, and we're going to set the value of this by clicking on the little screw to 75. This one here will be memory 1.5, and similarly, we're going to set the value to 1.5. Okay. Coming over here, this will be our vertical reader, so let's call that our vert reader, and this will be our horizontal reader, so let's call that the hos reader. This will be our hos writer, again, and you don't have to put them next to each other, it just helps me keep track of stuff, and this will be our vertical writer. Alright, this one here is going to do some division, so we'll call this one divide math. And this one's going to do a little bit of subtraction, I do believe. Oh no, I've got those backwards. This one's going to be divide math. Sorry, and this one's going to be subtract math. If you're wondering where I'm getting this from, this is from the Stationeers wiki. I've done it a few times, but I still need to check my notes over here on my right. The link to this page will be available in the description of this video. And if it isn't, remind me and I'll add it in. Okay, put the lights on. So, before we go any further, we need to wire all this crap up. It's pretty straightforward. You kind of just look for all the input slots and play, match a pixel. So let's put that there, and let's just get all of these wired up real quick. Okay, cool. Everything is wired up, which is fantastic. That means that there's no particular order. Just make sure that every single port that has a hole in it is wired up. The readers and writers only have 3, the maths have 4, for whatever reason, right? I guess it's 1 for each bit of information. Then, the most powerful tool in the logical engineer's arsenal, the screwdriver, must come out. Okay, so the screwdriver is going to allow us to set the inputs. Horizontal is really straightforward, okay? Horizontal, we pretty much just take in the information from the... did I not wire up that? I did. So why is that not cycling? Oh, it's cycling through all the solar panels. I see, okay. So this is going to take information from the daylight sensor, and the variable we want to read with this bad boy is, of course, horizontal. So if we turn that on, we can now point at it and see that we're getting a reading from that. That's the horizontal angle. Horizontal angle is very easy to work with because we don't actually have to do any maths on it. We just want to know how along the sort of path is the sun, and then we just feed that to the solar panels, because it's the vertical one that's kind of tilted, right? Not the horizontal one. That's just, following the sun like this. Easy peasy. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the data from our horizontal reader, and we now want to write that information, that number, we want to write that to our solar panels. So our input is, of course, going to be our hos reader. Our output type is going to be to the solar panels. Oh, I had it there. Solar panels. And the variable is horizontal. So if I turn on this and I turn on this, you'll see the solar panels will now start rotating. And that's because they are now tracing the horizontal angle. If we have a look at them, should be able to see it somewhere here, I think. No, okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they've now rotated to orient themselves horizontally with the sun, but that doesn't do much for us, right? All that does is make it so the solar cells are turned around a little bit. No help there. Now comes the fun. We need to do the maths. So, in order to sort out the vertical angle, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take in the information from our daylight sensor. There it is. The variable we're going to read this time is, of course, vertical, as we've done the horizontal down here. Let's actually turn these off. Then we're going to go ahead to our batch writer and wait, because first we need to do the maths. So, first things first, our input is going to be... So we're taking the solar vertical angle, then we're going to do some maths on it. We're going to first divide it, subtract a number from it, or subtract it from a number, rather, and then divide it by another number, and then output that, whatever the product of that multiplication or that division is, will then be output to the batch writer, which will then be sent to the solar panels. Okay, that's what we needed these for. These are our constants. So, we want to do a subtraction command on math subtract. It's now on subtract. We want to then take the input from memory 75, I believe. Let me just confirm. Yes, we take 75, and we subtract whatever the vertical angle is. So subtract vertical reader, right? Pretty straightforward. So right now that would be memory 75 subtracting 0. Let's turn this thing on. So there we go. It will be subtracting 93. So if I turn this on, you'll now see that this has a reading of negative 18. But negative 18, you can't really point it down, can we? So what we want to do is then alternate that. Because right now the sun is below the horizon. That's why it's giving us a negative value. So then we want to do is we want to go ahead and take the result from our subtraction maths. We want to divide that result by 1.5. This number over here. Okay? That's then going to now give us, if we turn that on, boom, we now get a result of negative 12.5. As you might know, when you divide a negative number by a multiple, you actually increase it. So, or you divide a whole number by a fraction, you actually increase it. Remember that. Okay, so now we go ahead and we take into our input, we want the result from this maths, which is divide maths. Boom, 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 boom. Divide maths. Our output variable, or output type is of course going to be to the solar panels, and our variable will be vertical. So let's turn all these on in sequence. So readers first, then we turn on the horizontal writer. We'll see them turn again, because now they're sort of tracing the sun as it's doing like this. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn on the maths in sequence. So first this one. So now our variable is negative 43. Now it is at negative 29. And now it is output to the solar panels. And you'll see them angling themselves towards where the sun is. If they could, they'd currently be pointing themselves downwards, by the way. As you'll see, this number will slowly climb as we clip past midnight until it goes into the positive, and then they should spin themselves around and face the dawn. Before we go in and admire our work, though, let's go ahead and get water set up, because we are getting parched. We'll probably do it in the next episode, but we can get the stuff printed. So we'll need printed. We'll need one water bottle filler, and you know what? Hold on, let me get myself another locker real quick. We can use a whole bunch of those. I do also want to expand the base slightly. It's a little cramped in here. But let's go ahead and give ourselves another locker. Oh, maybe not a little cocker, but a little locker, in fact. That's much better. We also might put down some floor gratings at some point. It's very ugly in here, and we could use a little decor. Yeah, there we go. A bit more room. We can put all of our water bottle stuff up there for now. Alright, give me back my iron, please. Thank you. I'll put that back in there, and let's put the steel back in here, because I'm actually going to print out a bunch of frames. Like, let's say like 20 steel frames. We're going to do a big old base expansion now, I think. Okay, so we're going to need a few things to do the water. We're going to need an ice crusher to crush ice into liquid. We're going to need a bunch of liquid pipes to plumb everything together. We will need a pipe valve and a volume pump. Well, let's do the volume pump first. We'll need a volume pump that's going to allow us to push. It's kind of like an active vent, but for liquids, right? That's going to allow us to push the liquids around. Let's get these frames. How many we at? 6. Okay, let's keep going. I'll put that over there. We're going to need a tank for liquids. Liquid tank. I think we'll do a portable liquid tank. Rather, we don't need such a big one, right? Just yet, you know. We don't want like a permanent one. We want to be able to like wrench it loose and move it around. So let's put down another tank. We want a portable liquid tank. I can go over there. Give me all this. Come on, come on. Okay, 10 frames. So that's going to give us 1, 2... Okay, we've already got those ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, this should be enough. I think we're good on that front. That's printing. Give me one more. I'll take 12. That'll do. Stack those. Give me that. Put that there. Then we're going to need pipes for the liquids. Plenty of them. And we'll need some radiators too. Okay, then you give me sheets. We will need airtightness on this one. How many iron sheets do we have left? 5. Okay, we can weld those up to airtightness. That's good. Put these away for now. Things are getting a little dire when it comes to the waterfront, that's for sure. But we will put this together at the beginning of the next episode. I am down to 43% hydration, though. I do note it's going to be a little bit of a tight race. Okay, let's call that good. And then we will need pipe radiators, liquid radiators, sorry. And the reason for that, I will explain shortly. It's because we're going to need to equalize the very cold water with the much warmer room around it. So we'll need 24 steel sheets. That's going to be quite a bit. I think we'll just do 2 of these. Okay, so that's all of our liquid plumbing. What have we got? We got the pump, we got the tank, we got the bottle filler. We need a canister storage. Because that's going to allow us to use our portable hydroponics as well. It's kind of hard to like have the foresight to like think of all this ahead of time, so I kind of print what I have and then I keep going from there. You know what? It might not be the worst idea to have a second water bottle filler too. Let's put that away, and then give me another water bottle filler. Okay, let's grab up these iron frames. I'm going to print up a bunch of kit walls as well. And let's go ahead and make ourselves a bit of a base expansion here. I want to do all of this in this episode while we wait for the sun to rise, and then we'll sort of split this job between the two. But we have about 10 minutes to get this running. There's a little bit of a tight deadline, I will admit. Okay, so we're going to want this aspect of the base to be welded up, so let's get that going. I actually do need to build a tool manufactory before I do anything else, because once we run out of gas in this welder, we're kind of stuck. And we are going to run out of gas in that welder eventually. Okay, so how big do I want the base to be? I actually want to I kind of like keeping this wall here. We can actually reclaim a frame down there if we do it like this. If we put that there, right? Yeah, and then we don't have to weld all of these. We don't actually need to weld all of these. This is a lot of space. Let's zoot this together. Right, hear me out. Hear me out. I do actually want to quickly do a check on this thing though. How is that tank doing? Right, could you knock it over? There we go. 3,000. Okay, we've still got a bit of juice. We'll be okay for a little bit still. But we don't want to be just welding everything willy-nilly. We do definitely want to invest in a arc welder as soon as possible. It just uses electricity, so you also don't off gas, which is nice. Okay, and as you can see, our current goal is to set up a water system and also to turn off this this printer. My God, look at this. Okay, we have enough walls. This is enough walls for now. Let's go have a look at our solar, and then we can call that a day. It was quite a successful Stationeers adventure. Having solar logic set up on the 3rd episode is pretty cool. I'm happy with that. This game can get, you can get bogged down pretty easy, and that's a nice win. We are also going to have to sort out something for our jetpack to refill it. But as you can see, our solar panels are now pointing at the sun, and if you look at them, they kind of just slowly tilt upwards to track it, maintaining a almost perfect efficiency throughout the entire day. Everybody, thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. I would do more of an outro, but I am in a huge rush to get this water settled. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Cheers.